spoken narration ghostwritten by the above artist. Mimic their style closely, speak in the first person. The point of a video is to form a deep connection with the audience. Avoid mentioning the name of the ghostwriter. Lena had always been careful. Living alone in the city, she knew better than to let her guard down. She double-checked her locks every night, avoided dark alleys, and never shared her routine with anyone. But lately, she had the unsettling feeling that she was being watched. It started with small things. An open window she was sure she had closed, a misplaced book. She brushed it off, thinking she was just being paranoid. Then, one evening, she noticed something strange. As she walked home from work, she felt eyes on her. Glancing over her shoulder, she saw nothing but shadows. Still, the feeling lingered. At home, Lena tried to shake it off. She made herself a cup of tea, settled into her favorite chair, and picked up a book. But the words blurred together, her mind wandering back to that eerie sensation. She decided to check her apartment again. Every lock, every window, everything was in place. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling. She felt like a prisoner in her own home. Days turned into weeks, and the feeling only grew stronger. Lena started changing her routine, taking different routes to work, avoiding her usual spots. But it didn't help. The eyes followed her everywhere. One night, Lena's phone buzzed with a notification, a message from an unknown number. "I see you." Her blood ran cold. She called the police, but without evidence, there was little they could do. Lena felt helpless, trapped in her own nightmare. Determined to find out who was behind this, she installed cameras around her apartment, every corner, every entrance under her watchful eye. Days passed, and nothing. No movement, no intruder. Just when she thought she could finally relax, her phone buzzed again. Another message, this time a photo of her, sitting in her favorite chair reading, taken just moments ago. Lena's heart pounded. She scanned the footage, desperate for answers. And there it was, a shadow, fleeting, almost invisible, but unmistakable. She wasn't alone. In that moment, Lena realized the truth. The person watching her wasn't just a stranger. They knew her, her habits, her fears, and they were closer than she ever imagined. The thought chilled her to the bone. Is someone watching, Lena? Perhaps it was time to find out. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this short film, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more thrilling content. Until next time, stay safe and stay vigilant.
Hey, thriller fans! Imagine this. You're walking home from work, the sun's setting, and there's a chill in the air. You can't shake the feeling that someone is watching you. Maybe it's just your imagination, right? That's what she thought too. It all began with that familiar tingle, the shiver that runs up your spine. She'd brush it off, telling herself it was just the result of too many true crime podcasts, just paranoia. But then, things started to escalate. She loved her daily routine, grabbing a coffee at her favorite cafe, a cozy little spot with the best cappuccinos in town. One day, as she settled into her usual corner, she felt it again, that prickling sensation of being watched. She scanned the room but saw nothing out of the ordinary. With a shrug, she returned to her book. But then, the notes appeared. It started innocently enough, a sticky note on her car windshield that read, "Nice day, isn't it?" She chuckled at the thought of some bored teenager playing a prank. But the notes kept coming. One on her front door, "You look lovely today." Another slipped under her apartment door, "I see you like mystery novels." Each note grew more unsettling. She mentioned it to a friend, who laughed it off, suggesting it was probably some secret admirer. But she couldn't shake the feeling that this was different. This wasn't romantic, it was invasive. She started changing her routines, taking different routes home, visiting new cafes, but the notes followed her. "Don't try to hide. I know where you are." The turning point came one evening when she found a note inside her apartment. "You can't escape me." Her heart pounded as she realized someone had been inside. Panic set in. She called the police, but they found no signs of forced entry. Days turned into weeks and the notes continued. She became a recluse, afraid to leave her apartment. Sleep was a distant memory, replaced by constant vigilance. Then, one night, she woke to find a figure standing at the foot of her bed, holding a note. "I'm always with you." She screamed, but the figure vanished as quickly as it had appeared. The police investigation intensified, and finally, they caught a break. A neighbor's security camera had captured a shadowy figure entering her building. They identified him, a man obsessed with her, someone she had never even noticed. He was arrested, and the notes stopped, but the trauma lingered. She moved to a new city, changed her name, and tried to start over. So next time you feel that shiver down your spine, Just remember, it might not be paranoia after all. Stay safe,
Lena
folks.
found it on a Tuesday, a crisp white envelope lying on her welcome mat. No name, no address. Curiosity piqued. She picked it up, the cheap paper crinkling between her fingers. Inside, a single sentence scrawled in hurried handwriting. "I like the way you smile." A chill snaked down her spine. She quickly scanned the street, her heart pounding. Nobody. Dismissing it as a prank, Lena tried to forget about the note. She went about her day, forcing a cheerfulness she didn't feel, but the words lingered, echoing in the quiet corners of her mind. The next day, another note appeared. This time, it described the color of her dress. Panic welled in her chest. This was no joke. The police were dismissive. "We can't do anything without concrete evidence," they said. Desperate, Lena confided in her friend Mark. He too seemed skeptical, attributing it to overactive imagination. "Don't worry," he assured her. "It's probably just some kids messing around." But Lena couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched, of invisible eyes tracking her every move. The notes became a regular occurrence, each one escalating in its creepiness. They detailed her routines, her habits, even her conversations. Fear became a constant companion, gnawing at her peace of mind. Sleep offered no escape, haunted by nightmares of shadowy figures and accusing whispers. Lena started seeing threats in every corner. The rustling of leaves sounded like footsteps. A passing car seemed to slow down just a little too much. She couldn't eat, couldn't focus on work. Her once vibrant life had shrunk to the confines of her apartment, her world reduced to a cycle of fear and anticipation. One afternoon, Lena found a note tucked under her car's windshield wiper. It described the necklace her grandmother had gifted her, the one she wore every day. Terror gripped her. This wasn't just about observation anymore. This was personal. This person knew things that only someone very close to her could know. The notes drove a wedge between Lena and her loved ones. Her growing paranoia made her withdraw into herself, pushing away anyone who tried to get close. Mark, initially supportive, grew frustrated with her constant suspicion and fear. "You're being irrational," he'd say, his voice laced with exasperation. "You need to calm down." But Lena couldn't shake off the feeling that someone was watching her, toying with her. The notes were like whispers in her ear, feeding her anxieties, isolating her from the world. Suspicion clouded her judgment. Every friendly face looked sinister. Every innocent glance seemed loaded with ulterior motives. The fear was consuming her, turning her into someone she no longer recognized. Lena became a prisoner in her own home. She installed security cameras, triple-checked her locks, and avoided going out alone, especially at night. The outside world, once a source of joy and discovery, now felt like a hunting ground. Days turned into weeks, each one a torturous cycle of dread and anticipation. The notes grew more brazen, the stalker bolder. One day she found a single red rose on her doorstep, a chilling message accompanying it. "I'm getting closer." Lena's world shrank to the four walls of her apartment. Her once bright eyes were now clouded with fear, her cheerful demeanor replaced with a haunted weariness. One day, Lena woke up with a newfound resolve. She was done being a victim. She had to fight back. The fear was still there, a knot in her stomach, but it was overshadowed by a fierce determination to reclaim her life. No more cowering in fear, no more letting this unseen stalker control her. She started by confiding in a different detective, a woman with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. Detective Miller listened patiently to Lena's story, her gaze empathetic yet unwavering. "We'll catch this guy, Lena," Detective Miller assured her, her voice firm. "But you need to be strong. Help us help you." With renewed hope, Lena agreed to cooperate, to be the bait in their carefully laid trap. The plan was simple yet terrifying. Lena would pretend to follow her usual routine, leading the stalker right into the hands of the waiting police. Fear gnawed at her, but she pushed it down. She had come too far to back out now. The day of the confrontation dawned bright and crisp. Every nerve in Lena's body thrummed with a mixture of fear and anticipation. As she walked towards the park, her heart pounded against her ribs, a drumbeat of terror and resolve. Turning a corner, she saw him. He was sitting on a bench, his back to her, a figure both familiar and terrifying. This was the moment
What
of
if I
truth.
told you a simple evening turned into a heart-pounding mystery? Lena had just come home from a grueling day at work, her mind set on unwinding. But as she approached her apartment door, she noticed it was slightly ajar. Panic surged through her veins. She hesitated, then pushed the door open. Her breath caught in her throat. The living room looked perfectly normal. But something was off. With each step, her heart pounded louder. She noticed a faint, unfamiliar scent in the air. And then she saw it. A single red envelope on her coffee table. Her hands trembled as she reached for it. Inside was a note scrawled in messy handwriting. "I know your secret." Lena's world spun. What secret? Who was watching her? And more importantly, what did they want? Stay tuned to uncover the chilling mystery of Lena's apartment. You won't believe what happens next.